So the first thing I'm going to do is to light my smoker. And here's the smoker. And the first thing we do with the smoker is dump out all the old fuel that's been used so that it can be filled with fresh fuel, ready to do its job for us as we work the beehive. And I think because I don't have my mic, we're going to look at one beehive today and we'll do the other one tomorrow. And I'll come back with all the right equipment. I killed myself to get the whole thing charged and ready. And I've got to pick up my granddaughter pretty soon, so I'm in a hurry to get out the door. I left the recording little bag at home. So you take a little ball of pine straw. When you get ready to light your smoker, you take a ball of pine straw and you light that ball. A propane lighter is a really good way to start. It's very windy up here, so it helps to put the lighter down kind of in the smoker so that it doesn't blow out from the wind. And as soon as you get the first little ball lit, you go puff, puff, and then you make another little ball and add to it. And another little ball and add to that. And we're going to keep going as we get ready to inspect this hive. The hive we're going to inspect was not in the inspection I did a couple weeks ago. I did inspect it, but I didn't film it. So we'll film it today, and I'll come back and do the other one tomorrow as soon as it's warm enough, which will probably be around lunchtime. Okay, see, I keep adding little balls of pine straw, and I kind of fold the pine straw into the smoker. You can bring a pair of scissors and clip the edges off, but I prefer to just put it all in there. So puff, 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 and my smoker is ready to go, and we're ready to start our inspection. The first thing you do when you get ready to inspect a hive is to watch the entrances. Now these bees have an entrance created by a bad place in the box. You can see right here, they're coming in right there and going in and out. There are not that many of them because it's not that big an opening, so they're not really worried about it. Now we'll walk around to the front. Now I haven't smoked these bees yet. We're going to just stand here and watch them. I'll bring you in kind of close so we can see. That's as close as it's going to let me go right now. And we're watching for bees to be, there's a bee with pollen on her legs. We want to see, there's another one. Oh, how pretty, she just stuck her leg up for us all to see. So we want to know that there are bees flying in with pollen, which means there are young bees inside that need to be taken care of. So we've done that part of our inspection. The other piece we notice as we look at the front of the hive is that the bees are getting along well. There's no fighting. They're taking their turns going in. Wasn't that pretty bright orange pollen? And there's a general in and out that's going on that looks pretty peaceful. Looking to see if I see any drones in that group. Does anybody see a drone? There are lots of them. Drones and bees. There's another one with bright pollen. So it's very important at the beginning of your inspection to check out the front of your hive. So I've got my veil on and I'm ready to get going, and there's a big rock on top of this hive. It's not like we have the kind of winds that would blow the top off, but it does say to any curious people that come through the community garden, this is a beehive and you might want to leave it alone. So first I'm going to take the top off. The goal of this inspection, we want to find out two things. Does the hive need another box, and is the queen doing okay? Those are generally the questions you're asking in spring. We already have one indication that the queen's doing okay because we saw bees flying in with pollen. So I'm going to take the top of the box off, and what you do is you take it off and you lay it so that it's upside down on the ground beside the hive. And that allows me to have a container so that as I take things off of the hive, if the queen happens to be there and she drops off, she's going to drop off into the top of the box. And the secret to good beekeeping and calm beekeeping is to go slowly. So I'm going to put this down on top of our upturned cover. And this is the new box that we added, and not much is going on here. I'm going to take it, I'm going to cover it first. The bees are coming up now to say, what's this about all this light coming in from the top? So I'm going to cover it up I'm going to take it off. And when I take it off, I'm going to cover the box underneath it because that's a way of keeping it safe. Open this one up well, loosen it up well. Now the nectar flow hasn't started. The tulip poplar isn't blooming yet. And these bees have not done much in either this box or the box that's right now on the top of the hive. We're going to take both of those off and go down and look at the brood situation. I'll put another hive drape on this one. And in the next box, we're going to look at what's going on. Now the secret to beekeeping is to move slowly and calmly. And I really think it helps not to feel anxious. The bees know it when you're worried or scared. So I try to move slowly and keep thinking of them as my friends. Okay, I'll take this one off. This one's heavy, it has honey in it. So it's a good one not to look at early on because it's probably not got much brood. It's probably got more honey. And we're gonna go all the way down to the bottom because first we want to do is check for swarm cells and see if they are planning to swarm. So we're gonna disrupt their entry that's right here by sticking my hive tool in it. Great big old drone. Okay, now we're going to see what this bottom box looks like in terms of whether there's brood or there swarm cells. What do we see? So I'm going to put a frame rack on the side of the hive. So I'm going to take my hive tool. I can see there's some cross comb right here, but I think it's just barely joining. That's right. So I'm going to cut through it so that I can move this and then convince this little girl to get out of the way and move the frame around to loosen it up. Okay, it's loosened on that end. Let's go loosen it on this end where it looks really probalized. Okay, let's see if I can get it up. Okay, I don't see queen cells hanging off the bottom of this. This is a honey frame, and they're storing nectar in it. You can see nectar in it. And I'm going to hang it on the frame rack while we keep looking to see what's in here. Now the way I've done the hive drape, it allows the bees on the frame to stay protected as well as the bees in the hive. So now I'm moving over to the next frame. You see I moved the frame drape and I backed this one up a little bit because all I want to have showing here is the frame I'm about to work on. Now it is connected right here to the next one, but I think again, that's not a full comb's worth, but it turns out that it is. We may just not do this. Now that I'm looking, I can see that this box hadn't been touched all of last year after they had the pesticide kill. This hive had a pesticide kill, and after the pesticide kill, I didn't touch this bottom box, and they have a lot of joined comb, so we may not get to find out if in fact they are, y'all won't have this problem unless you use foundationless frames. And when you, oh look, I was able to get that apart just fine. Yay, not worried. Okay, so let's cover this back up and pull this out and see. It looks like they're using this bottom box mostly for honey. See again, honey. And there's nectar in all of those cells. So they are not raising brood in this bottom box. Many beehives, that's where they raise brood. But when the queen gets up and going, sometimes in the spring, they will put their brood in the second box because they don't want the cold wind coming in the entrance of the hive and disrupting their brood. But I am not going to take this box apart any more than this because I can see that the frames really are pushed together and with comb and that there's not brood. I can see down the next box it's honey too. So I'm in the next frame, that it's honey too. So I'm just gonna put this box back together and we're gonna look at the next one, which also feels like honey to me, but we'll see what it looks like. So down this one goes, the original first frame I took out. Push it down really good. And then we're gonna have a little conference with ourselves and decide if we should move this next box, the frames, into a new box. So we're going to do that by looking at the frames and seeing what their state is. Are they honey frames? Are they glued together? What is the deal? So I'm going to look and see. On first glance, it looks like they're probably fine for moving them into a new box. We may have to move a couple together. So the first thing I'm going to do is go get a new box. So I'm going to start with the second frame from the outside right here. This box has no frames in it at all. So I'm going to loosen this frame up. The key is getting out this very first frame. I'll try moving these two frames together. So let me see if I can get this one out. We can get them out together. That way we won't break their honeycomb, which is not hooked to that one, but it's just so close to it that it's going to get ripped open the whole width of it, and I just hate to do that to the bees after all their hard work. So we're going to take these out together if we can. There are two. I'll back you up a little bit. Here we go. Now I've got both of them. It wasn't a tragedy. We come over here with both of them. Open this up and put them down just like they came out of that box. All right, now we're going to try the next one and see if it's one that has to be pulled up together, or if I can do it separately. What they're going to hate about this is that I'm taking away an entrance that they've created, and they are not going to be happy about that. But what we all are finding out so far is that this box, this is heavy full of honey. This is full of honey, and we haven't got any brood in these bottom two boxes of this hive. That's where they've stored honey, which is kind of unusual. But whatever works for them, right? And that apparently is what works for them. Let that one down. Let that one down. Okay, so we've got half of the box transferred, not quite, but almost. This is another frame of honey. This is another pair of frames we're going to move together. Pick them up together. Then I've got to open this box up. And put them in here together. And then taking the drapes off for just a second to get this so it's in place and not out of place. Now they're going to both hate the fact that I've moved their extra entrance, but they're also going to love the fact that I'm going to love the fact that they are safer. They don't have as many entrances to protect, and they will like that too, that they don't have as many entrances to protect. So instead of adding a box to this hive, what we're doing is repairing a situation that we discovered when we got here. It's an important situation, and I'm really glad to get it taken care of in a way that will help the beehive function better and keep our bees safer, which is what I'm always trying to do. So, that's loose, that's loose. So one more frame after we've done this one. Look at that big fat amount of honey on that. Can you all see that? There's a glare so I can't see what you can see, but it's a great big fat thing of honey. Now I have to put it back in exactly the way I took it out. So I'm conscious the whole time of making sure that I do that. All right. Yay us, and there's a big beautiful blob of honey in here on top of the hive drape that the bees are cleaning up. Okay, last frame, and before I move it, what I want to do is make sure that I've got as much space over here as I can. It's going to really push, and push. I was trying to pick up a drone to show him to you, but he's not. Every time I come near him, he heads for the lower edges of the box. Okay, so we've got this inadequate box out of the picture. They're not going to like it. It's sort of like a tornado hit your house, and I was the tornado. So, we fixed a problem. Yay. And now, we're going to get rid of this box. Now, this box is the box that they were using, so there are bees all in it. So the first thing I'm going to do is to invite them to go into this box. So what they're not going to have, I don't think, is an entrance back here at this corner. They are still going to have an entrance up at the front. Okay, so now we're going to move the next box on top of the hive. And we're going to look at this box because there should be brood in this box. We've got honey in all those ones on the bottom. That doesn't make any sense to me because this is an almost empty box. So where is the brood? Maybe in one of those two boxes. Okay, let's just see about this. This is an odd situation, beekeepers, because there are three frames over here that have nothing in them. Okay, so we're going to look at the second frame from the edge on this box and see what we see. what we see is honeycomb that's bigger. It's a bigger honeycomb than they build for brood. Than they build for worker brood. On this side though that I just showed you, it's worker brood size comb. And I'm looking to see if there are any eggs. Okay, I do not see eggs. Now this one has some fruit in it and eggs. There are eggs in the cells right in here. And I'll see if maybe you can see them. They look like little grains of rice. This is good because it means the queen is busy and doing well. There's some queen cups on this. This is also a frame where we might even see the queen since there's so much laying going on. Here she is. Here's the queen. Let me see if I can show you the queen. She is right in the center. That's the queen right there. Let's see, she just disappeared again. Let me find her again. There she is. Oh, the sun is making it so you're not gonna be able to see her. There she is, right there. That's our queen. Isn't she lovely? I hope y'all can see her. Hope I'm holding this right. Okay, so we've seen the queen. That's good. So we know all is well in this hive because we've seen the queen. We've helped them out with their entry, and we're gonna call it quits for this hive because it is all doing fine and thriving, and we didn't see any swarm cells upon what we looked at. They might be planning to swarm, but they aren't leaving yet. So we're going to put it back together and call this a day for this hive. Okay, everybody, we're going to inspect the second hive up at the community garden and see what we can learn. So I was just at my friend's house where a swarm moved into a hive that's been sitting there for 2 years, and I thought my smoker was out in the car. But look here, it wasn't out at all. So I added a little bit of extra fuel to get started with this inspection, but I didn't have to light it again. So I'm popping at the door to say I'm here, knocking on the door as it were. And we're gonna see what's going on in this hive since we added a box net 2 weeks ago. So first we're gonna pop the top. Our question in this hive is to make sure the queen is still doing fine and to see if they need another box. The nectar flow hadn't really started. I don't imagine they'll need another box, but we'll see. So a nice lot of bees on the top. Take that off. Immediately I can see that these frames are being used well. My goodness gracious. So we will look at what they've done up here in a minute, but we'll look at that last. They've got nice big fat honeycomb where they're storing nectar from whatever it is that is blooming. The tulip poplar is going to be blooming soon. Yep, oh, that's heavy with honey. Wow, good job, girls. Okay, now let's see in this box. Same deal, lots and lots of wax has been built, and it looks like they're using it for honey. And so because it looks like they're using it for honey, we're gonna go on down to another box. These two boxes still have plenty of room in them for honey storage, so we're not gonna be adding a box today. And we're going down here where we can see how our queen is doing. I believe we found brood in this box the last time I was in it. So we're gonna start with it. And we may or may not go down further, just depending on what do we see in this box. So I wanna start with 2 hive drapes so I can look at one frame at a time. I'm gonna put a frame rack on the side of the hive. And it looks like the last frame is pretty much empty. We never take the last frame out first anyway, but it looks pretty much empty. So we're gonna start as we would normally start with the second frame from the end, which is a big fat old honey frame. So I'm gonna spread out so I can see 2 frames on the top of this hive so that I can make a lot of space to accommodate the fact that this is a fat comb in this frame. Okay, got a little extra room. We'll loosen this one up. I can see it's gonna be hard to get this out without breaking comb. So I'm gonna break my own rule and take the 3rd frame out first, just to make sure I can get this 2nd frame out without causing a problem. And you know, always up here we have wind and it blows the hive drapes off, and I forget it every time. This is a good use for my glove that I'm not wearing right now. It's soft, it won't hurt the bees. Okay, this is a very nice frame with lots of brood, a big old drone right in the middle of it, and lots of brood. Let's see. Oh, this is a frame on foundation. This is one that this hive came with. It has what looks like is an open queen cell, 2 of them. I don't know how to think about that. I'll come show you. But let me see if I can find the eggs first. Oh, yes. Tiny little larvae all across this frame. I don't see eggs specifically, but I'm going to come show it to you. So that you can see there is lots and lots of tiny brood on this frame. This is the kind of frame that we might see the queen on. It's the hard part about being on a hill. I nearly fell off the hill. I want to make sure the queen isn't on here before I hang it on the frame rack. I see lots of big old fat drones who haven't gone out flying for the day. And I'm just going to put this on the frame rack. And cover it up. And then we're going to look at this big old fat frame that I think is mostly honey. Often for the sake of warmth, the bees put the brood more toward the center of the box, and they'll put honey toward the edge of the box. And this is one frame of honey. Look at that. Lots and lots of honey. And they are bringing in nectar. Look at that beautiful frame of honey. I see they've capped it up at the top, and in the lower part, it's still open nectar while they dry it out to 18.6% moisture. Now the frame beside it, the last frame in the box, is pretty much empty. It has some comb. I'm gonna show it to you. But because they've made that big fat comb, in order to make space for the big fat comb, they have used this very little. Now this is all nectar all the time, and it's capped on your side. Very pretty. All right, so we're gonna push those 2 back so that I can remember that what I took out was frame number 3 as my first frame. And you should feel the heat. I can feel the heat from the hive with my hand in this open space that's open. I can feel the heat. Can you imagine how much heat would be being let out of the hive if I weren't using hive drapes? So that was such a nice frame of brood that we just pulled out, that we're going to look and see about this next one and see if it has brood on it. But that had nice little tiny brood, like very young. Now this has nectar and drone cells on this side of it, and the same on this side of it. They're using this mostly for nectar and raising drones because the drones need bigger cells. So if you can see the drone cells in there, they're right in the center of the frame. Right, I can't let go to show you, but they're right in that area. So that's a nice frame, good for the bees. And then more drones on the next frame. So we may go to the next box and see if there's more worker brood in the next box. Because this is mostly drones. And that one is almost all drones. So we're going to go to the next box. So what I'm going to do is keep the warmth in keep the cabin warm here. And pull this one back. And take the frame that's hanging on the frame rack. And put it back. And we're going to go to the next box. After I'm talking about keeping the hive warm, I take the top off altogether. Not very nice of me, because the bees need the warmth. Oh, that's heavy. That's because, see, mostly what they've got in there is honey. So we're going to start on this one over here on this side, because I can tell from looking at it that there's a little, looking at the box as a whole, when I first open the box and I look, it looks like there's more work being done on this side of the box, the hive box. So I want to look in an area where it might be less disruptive to take the frames in. So we're going to loosen the second frame from the side. These are great bees. They're just doing a wonderful job, and they survived the winter. I hope they can survive the year. You just never know when you're trying to be a treatment-free beekeeper. And I don't know the history of these bees. They came from Mike Cosera, who only has survivor bees and doesn't treat them and everything, and has them for years, but I still stay a little worried. Okay, this left hand goes toward the back of the box. I'm gonna cover this up. So this is looking really nice. Mostly worker brood on this side and some larvae. You can see the larvae in this area right here. Fat, nice larvae. And there's the other side. So you can see some drone brood and some larvae. Hang this one on the frame rack, and it's our second frame out, and we're going to cover it up with the hive drape. Really, you don't need to go up my sleeve. This is a drone who's thoroughly exploring my hand. It's kind of nice to let a drone do that, because it makes you feel less scared of the bees, to let him walk all over you. He's not going to sting me because he can't. So. But I do need to get out of the way. There you go. Go find a queen to have sex with. Okay. Now let's see what we can find in this next frame. Now this hive was in a little newt box over the winter, and look how well they're using their space. Now this is medium. On this side we have medium brood, medium biscuit, which means that it's likely to hatch out in the next 2 weeks. Try and see if there are any eggs in here. There's lots of little tiny larvae. Yes, I found some eggs. I'm going to see if I can show them to you. And there's a huge queen cell in here, which might mean that they're thinking about swarming. So I want to come show you the queen cell first. See this? It's a huge queen cell right here. Right there is a queen cell, and we don't know when she's coming out. And if you can look, in this area there are eggs. When I look at the video, I'll try to make it so it's more specific. Here. Oh wait, that's the same one, sorry. And there are eggs right in here. So we want to put this carefully back in the hive because we don't want to mess up the queen cell. And here's more worker brood, this dark biscuit. It's coming out this week, emerging this week. So this has worker brood on it that's dark biscuit and should be coming out this week. Because it's so dark, we know that it's 3 weeks old. And y'all didn't see this, but I tripped and rolled down the hill. I put the frame down and lost my footing, but I didn't put that on the tape. Thought I didn't roll down the hill with the frame. Actually, I had a bee in my bonnet, literally, and so I was trying to get her out, and that's when I tripped. So all of the brood in this box is dark biscuit, so it is ready to hatch. It was probably in the hive when we moved it. It was in the hive when we moved it. It would have been. So this is brood laid before we moved the hive, which might be why that queen cell was in this box. There are probably more queen cells in the next box down, but that was probably the first queen cell they were making as a swarm cell, and then I moved the box. So we shall see. Oh my gosh, look at the queen cells on this one. So this is definitely a hive that's planning to swarm. You can see all those beautiful queen cells. Golly, those are pretty. They've done a nice job getting ready to swarm. So we know that about the hive. We also know the queen is still laying because they're eggs. So don't think they're swarming today. So usually bees swarm right before the queen cells hatch. Those queen cells look like they have another week to go. So this hive is probably going to swarm next week while I'm gone on spring break with my kids. But I can't do anything about it anyway. So we did what we could, which is give them more room by putting them into a bigger box, and that did not solve the problem apparently. They still feel the normal urge that a beehive feels, which is to swarm in the spring and reproduce the hive as a whole. And so that is what they're doing. They're getting ready to do it, and they will do it. And that is what's known as the way it is. So I think since we've seen the swarm cells, we're not going to go down into the bottom box. So I'm trying to put back a frame that isn't going to go back without killing brood. So I'm going to see if I can't pull these frames better together to make more room for this frame to go down. Usually 8-frame hives have a little bit of extra space, which is nice for exactly that, for giving your frames a little bit more flexibility. But this particular frame does not want to go down because it has this jutting out bit of brood. Here it goes. Okay. Now, I have them all agitated. I don't know if it's because the camera fell over in the wind, or I fell over in the wind, or that I discovered their queen cells. But for whatever reason, we're going to close this hive up and call it a day. Here's another great big old drone that y'all might want to see. Just crawling around, perfectly happy. It's a good bee for beekeepers to pick up, because you find out they're really not that scary. Of course, he's not scary because he can't sting, but you shouldn't be scared. Just move slowly, and if you get stung, stick whatever part of you got stung in the smoker. All right, so we're gonna put this back together. Oh, I just killed the bee. It heard a crunch. I hate that. Sorry, bee. Canceling cover fell off. I don't know where that is. Never will find that flat. Look at all this beautiful honey. Just gorgeous. And it's all honey. They're storing it for us and for them. It's beautiful. Thank you for joining me for the Morningside Hive inspection today. And next time what we'll probably do is equip a queen castle, which means we'll take some frames of brood and eggs and set up 3-frame nukes to start new hives.